Worked. So when you go around to the the power box around the corner, so they're not plugged in the way they used to be. So don't worry, no one's been playing around, just Tony.
Oh.
In London.
Test audio. Check 1, 2.
Hi, good evening. Councillor Santos checking in.
Hi, Councillor Santos. We can hear you fine. Can you hear us okay?
Can, thank you.
Thank you.
Please. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the last planning meeting of 2024. And just before I get into the roll call and our evening business, I wanted to say, particular to staff, this year's been a tough year. It's been a tough year with the amount of things that's been handed by our big brother, the province, the changes that we've had to make along the way, dissolution talks, bill changes in the way we do our daily business. It's been extremely difficult for all. And for planning staff, you've handled it remarkably well. My hat goes, from all of us, our hats go off to you because you really have done a tremendous amount of work and a great job this year. I hope to say that there's a little Christmas party happening soon for staff. Steve, can you
Through the chair, I certainly can attest that my staff and members of council know I like to celebrate, so that definitely has been in the works and will be in the works.
Excellent. I can't wait for that invite to go out to myself. With that, I would like to do roll call. Deputy Mayor Singh.
Present.
Councillor Santos.
Present.
Councillor Vincente. Councillor Brar.
Present.
Councillor Keenan.
Present.
Councillor Medeiros.
Present.
Councillor Fortini.
Present.
Councillor Tour. He'll be trying to get on probably. Councillor Power.
Present.
And Mayor Brown, who's not needed for this meeting. Perfect. We'll go back to Councillor Tour. Are you on? We'll keep an eye out for him, make sure that he's... I have approval of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, changes to the agenda? Councillor Power.
Thank you, through the chair. I believe, Madam Clerk, you have this queued up, but file OZS 2023-0045, which is 1955 Cottrell Boulevard, Jindale Developments. I think I require 2/3 vote to bring that file forward.
You can't get 2/3 here if it's council direction, but let's add the item, bring it forward, and get it in the minutes for the 2/3 that you need at council this week.
That will show up as 7.12 on the agenda if it's added.
7:12.
Thank you.
Sorry, and what is that item again? I apologize.
The G-Force Urban Planners and Consultants for Jindal Developments, and it's 1955 Cottrell Boulevard.
1995 Cottrell. Okay. 1955. Excellent. Anybody else? Seeing none, been moved by Councillor Power. The agenda be approved. All in favor? That carries. Declaration of conflict of interest. Any members have to declare a conflict of interest on any of the items here today? Seeing nobody on the board, nobody online. Our consent agenda. We have a number of items. We have along with presentations and reports, 7.1, staff report, draft plan of subdivision application to amend the secondary plan zoning bylaw, Senwood Developments, Candefcon Limited, 10159, the Gore Road, Ward 10. It's consent. 7.2 is the staff report, application to draft plan of subdivision to amend the zoning bylaw, 11185, Airport Road, Ward 10. Consent. 7.3, staff report, application to draft plan of subdivision to amend the zoning bylaw, Greenvale Homes Limited, KLM Planning Partners, 2648, Countryside Drive, Ward 10. Consent. Staff report, application to amend the zoning bylaw, Meridian Planning Consultants, DAR UI Amman Institute, 8627, Mississauga Road, Ward 4. Consent. Staff report, 7.5, application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, Glenn Schnarr and Associates, 2424203, Ontario Limited, 0 McLaughlin Road, Ward 6. Consent. If it's from the applicant, then I'm sure, sorry, 6-2 or 5-2? 6-2 is, no, that's Brampton resident. I apologize. It'll not go into consent. 7.6, staff report, application to amend the zoning bylaw, Glenn Schnarr and Associates, Castlemore Country Properties, 47-1, Country Properties Limited, 5076, Old Castlemore Road, Ward 10. Consent. 7.7, application to amend the zoning bylaw. No, we have a delegation 6.3 on that one.
Can I help? Please, Councilor Santos.
Thank you, Councillor. 7.8, staff presentation, Bill 23, changes to the Heritage Act. Consent. 7.9, staff report, updates to the Heritage Register, and related matters as a result of the implementation of provincial bills 23 and 200. If there's,
Hold.
thank you, Councillor. I'm going to hold that one, and I think because there's another hold. 7.10, staff presentation, proposed changes for Committee of Adjustment applications. Consent. 7.11, staff report, proposed fee changes for Committee of Adjustment applications. Consent. 7.12, the added item, which is the 1955 Cottrell Boulevard. Consent. Because that's an old staff report, that'll be referred directly to council for the overturn. No need to deal with it here. Refer that back. We'll refer it right to council this week. 8.1, Brampton Heritage Board minutes. Thank you. Held. Referred items, 11.2. All the correspondence dealing with any of the consent, we will put into consent. There's no closed. We'll have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? That carries. I'll go through my statutory public meetings. Item 5.1 is a staff presentation on a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment, residential driveway standards, wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. Are there any members in the audience today that would like to hear a presentation from staff on that item? Again, this item is a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment regarding residential driveway standards, all areas except for 9 and 10. Is there anybody in attendance or online that would like to hear a staff presentation? Seeing and hearing nobody online, that item is adjourned. Item 5.2 has, sorry? We did, moved by Deputy Mayor. That's okay. 6.5. 6.5 is only the planner on the file. Is that the planner on the file, Joe? Maurizio, who's the Joe Seamer? M8. Okay, so that one will be held then, right? 5.2. 5.3, staff presentation application to amend the zoning bylaw, MHBC. No, we have a delegation on that one too. Okay. That'll be the only ones that are adjourned. So the only one is adjourned is the city initiated zoning bylaw amendment. We'll go right to item 5.2, staff presentation, application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, Avalon Developments, Blackthorn Development Corporation, 137 Steeles Avenue West, Ward 4. Arjun, you're here. Take it away.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of committee, members of the public, and city colleagues. My name is Arjun Singh, and I'm the planner assigned to process and review the subject application. The purpose of the public meeting is to provide information to the public and seek feedback on the application filed by Blackthorn Development Corporation on behalf of Avalon Developments, Inc. The proposal seeks to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw to permit a mixed-use development comprised of 4 apartment buildings with heights ranging from 45 to 50 stories. Next slide, please. Subject property is located in Ward 4. The subject site is municipally known as 137 Steeles Avenue West. The site is located south of Steeles Avenue West, east of Malta Avenue, and west of Lancashire Lane. Next slide, please. This slide shows an overview of the subject site and surrounding land uses. To the north, Steeles Avenue West, beyond which are commercial lands such as Shoppers World and high-rise residential lands. The lands to the north are subject to active development applications. To the south, low-density residential uses and existing institutional uses, such as St. Kevin Catholic Elementary School and Church. To the east, agricultural and commercial uses and Lancashire Lane. And to the west, agricultural uses, vacant lands, and lands developing for high-density residential uses and Malta Avenue. Next slide, please. This is an aerial view of the subject property and surrounding area. Next slide, please. This slide displays photos from a site visit conducted in November of this year. Next slide, please. The applicant has submitted an application to amend the zoning bylaw and official plan to permit a mixed-use, 2-phase development comprised of 4 apartment buildings with towers ranging from 45 to 50 stories, ground floor retail, a new public road, private roads, and a public park. Further details include interim access from Steeles Avenue West, ultimate access to be provided from east-west private and public roads that connect to Malta and Lancashire Lane, 2,515 total vehicular parking spaces, 1,172 total bicycle parking spaces, Phase 1 consisting of 939 apartment units, Phase 2 consisting of 961 apartment units, and a total unit count of 1,900 apartment units. Next slide, please. Prior to finalizing recommendations to council, this application will be further evaluated for consistency with the Planning Act, Provincial Policy Statement, City of Brampton Official Plan, Brampton Plan, and the Huron-Ontario Main Corridor Secondary Plan. Next slide, please. Subject lands are designated as residential in the City of Brampton Official Plan. The residential designation permits a full range of dwelling types ranging from single detached houses to high-rise apartments. An amendment to the official plan is not required. Next slide, please. On November 1st, 2023, Brampton Council adopted the City of Brampton's new official plan, Brampton Plan. The official plan provides clear direction and principles to guide city building, attaining its vision for the future and support the city to become a vibrant urban city of over 1 million people by 2051. The subject site is designated as community areas, urban centers, primary transit station area, primary urban boulevard on Schedule 1A city structure. The subject site is also designated as mixed use, high-rise mixed use, mid-rise mixed use, neighborhood, mid-rise residential, potential mid-block connection, and neighborhood park on Schedule 13M, Brampton MTSA, HRLT-22, Gateway Terminal Land Use Plan. The proposed heights do not conform with the building typologies under Section 2.2.2 of the Brampton Plan, thus an official plan amendment may be required. Staff would also like to note that Schedule 13M has been appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Next slide, please. Subject lands are also located within the Huron-Ontario Main Corridor Secondary Plan. and are designated as Mixed Use 1 and Medium Density. The Mixed Use 1 designation permits a mix of uses and higher densities that support light rail transit and active transportation, including permitted uses as medium and high density residential, office and institutional buildings, and high density residential dwellings. The medium designation permits townhouses and stacked townhouses. And under section 5.1.1, proposals for higher density and/or building height increases than the maximum permitted shall require justification for the increase as part of a zoning amendment. However, an official plan amendment will not be required. Therefore, an amendment to the secondary plan is not required. Next slide, please. Subject properties are zoned as residential apartment A holding, section 3736, and agricultural. Permitted uses in the residential apartment zone include residential apartments, a variety of commercial uses, including but not limited to a retail establishment, commercial school, and day nursery. Permitted uses in the agricultural zone include agricultural purposes, non-agricultural, including single detached dwelling, kennel, home occupation, and a cemetery. An amendment to the zoning bylaw is required to facilitate the requested changes. Next slide, please. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment will permit the rezoning of the subject site from a residential apartment A holding, special section 3736, and agricultural zone to a residential apartment A holding with a new special section. Next slide, please. Key issues and considerations: coordination with neighboring landowners through tertiary plan, draft plan of subdivision, and growth management strategy. An amendment is also needed to the previously approved tertiary plan to study increased height and density proposed for phase 2. Through the tertiary plan process, a strategy to implement servicing infrastructure, including improvements to Steeles Avenue West, new private and public road connecting Lancashire Lane and Malta Avenue, and a comprehensive wastewater, water, and storm servicing approach. Appropriateness of the built form and performance standards, considering existing context and future rapid transit lines, such as the Steeles Avenue and future Hazel McCallion LRT, and opportunities to increase retail opportunities within the ground floors. Next slide, please. The application was filed with the city and deemed complete on June 1st, 2024. The application was circulated to commenting departments and agencies. We are now at the public meeting stage. Next steps in the application are staff will follow and continue the review of the application, including reviewing comments from the public and technical comments, advance a final recommendation to council for a decision. Issues raised will be addressed in a future recommendation report, and staff will also contact and follow up with those residents who have spoken, written in, or advised of an interest in monitoring this proposal. Next slide, please. The development application can be accessed through Brand Plan Online. Through Brand Plan Online, members of the public can click search for an application link, then type the file number in the required field, which in this case is OZS 2024-0040. This brings up the file page, where by clicking the File Info tab, will allow all drawings and documents associated with the development application to be viewed. Next slide, please. The report and presentation associated with tonight's meeting is available online. Once again, my name is Arjun Singh. My contact information is posted on the screen, along with the contact information of the applicant, Maurizio Regato, from Blackthorn Development Corporation, who is representing the landowner. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself, my manager, or the applicant. Thank you kindly and have a great evening.
Thank you, Arjun. We'll go to our delegation. Our delegation is Joe Seamer from MSH Planning. I think Joe's online. Joe, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You have 5 minutes.
Chair. Good evening, Chair, member of the committees. I'll be brief. I just wanted to reiterate the letter that we submitted for this application. My name, for the record, is Joe Seamer with MSH Planning. We're working with Pierpoint, the owners of land at 177 Steeles Avenue West. For reference, our client's lands are about 75 meters to the west of the proponent's lands here. We've reviewed the application, especially going through the functional servicing report. We noted that the proponent is expected to connect to a new 300 millimeter sanitary sewer that would be within Malta Avenue. From our understanding, the size of that pipe may not allow for full development of the 4 blocks that are in that development area. So we're just asking that the committee take this under our letter under consideration. We're asking that staff be allowed to work with the landowners and the region to determine the appropriate density and population for the 4 blocks that would potentially be further development for that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. We have no other delegations. I'll ask if anybody would like to come down and delegate on this item, or if there's anybody online. You can take yourself off mute or show your hand. Anybody like to come down and delegate on this item? Seeing none, it has been moved by Councillor Keenan, receipt of the staff presentation and 6.5 delegation. All in favor? That carries. Next item is 5.3, application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, MHBC Planning Limited 11722 Mississauga Road for 100030217272127. I apologize, Ontario Inc., 11722 Mississauga Road, to permit the development of 5 industry buildings having a total gross floor area of 1,712 square meters, 1,943 parking spaces. Yin is here, principal planner. Welcome. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, members of committee, members of public, and then city staff. My name is Ying Xiao, and I'm the planner assigned to process and review the subject application. The purpose of the public meeting is to provide information to the public and seek feedback on the application filed by MHBC Planning Limited on behalf of 11722 Mississauga Road JV, 1000302-127 Ontario Inc. Next slide, please. The subject property is located in Ward 6 at 11722 Mississauga Road in the northwest part of Brampton. It is located at the southwest corner of Mississauga Road and Mayfield Road. Next slide, please. The slide shows an overview of the site. So to the north of the site is Mayfield Road, beyond which are agricultural lands and an industrial site in the town of Caledon. To the south are agricultural lands. To the east of the site is Mississauga Road, beyond which is a low-density residential neighborhood. To the west are agricultural lands and 2 existing residential properties. The site and the surrounding agricultural lands are part of the Heritage Heights Secondary Plan area, which is planned for an urban community with a full range of land uses, including residential and employment uses. Next slide, please. This slide, next slide, please, sorry. This slide shows site photos with views from Mayfield and Mississauga Road. Next slide, please. The development proposal includes 5 one-story industrial buildings, each accommodating a warehouse and ancillary office area. Total gross floor area of 172,000 square meters. 2 vehicular accesses on Mayfield Road and 3 accesses on Mississauga Road via private roads. Over 1,900 parking spaces and 300 loading spaces. The development will achieve 161 jobs per net hectare. Next slide, please. Prior to finalizing recommendations and advancing a recommendation report to Council, this development application will be further evaluated for compliance with the Planning Act, consistency with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, and conformity to the City of Brampton Official Plan 2006, Brampton Plan 2024, Heritage Heights Secondary Plan, and Brampton 2040 Vision. Next slide, please. The Official Plan 2006 designates the property as designated Greenfield Area, Open Space, and Northwest Brampton Urban Development Area. The site is planned to be part of a new community comprising of a mix of land uses, including a range of housing types, density, and tenure, as well as employment lands. An amendment to the official plan is not required. Next slide, please. Under the Brampton Plan 2024, the subject site is designated neighborhoods, employment, and Northwest Brampton development area. As the south portion of the site is designated neighborhoods, amendment to the Brampton Plan would be required. However, since the Brampton Plan is partially under appeal, including the land use schedule, the 2006 official plan land use policies still apply. An official plan amendment to the Brampton Plan is not required. Next slide, please. The subject lands are located within the Heritage Heights Secondary Plan. The land use designation of the site is employment and natural heritage system. The permitted uses include light industrial uses, supporting research and technology, major institutional uses, and office uses. An amendment to the secondary plan is not required. Next slide, please. The subject lands are zoned agricultural, which mainly permit agricultural-related uses. Amendment to the zoning bylaw is required to permit the proposed uses. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to amend the official plan to add a special land use policy area and to permit warehousing, manufacturing, and ancillary office uses. Next slide, please. The applicant is proposing to amend the zoning bylaw from the current agricultural zone to a site-specific industrial 2 zone. The industrial 2 zone permits a number of industrial and non-industrial uses. Examples include manufacturing, warehousing, freight classification yards, and accessory office use. Next slide, please. Key issues and considerations are identified as follows. Confirmation of potential policy amendments to accommodate the proposed uses. Coordination of the site-specific technical studies with the Heritage Heights secondary plan level studies. Coordination with future developments with precinct area 52-3 for road network and servicing infrastructures. Justification of the proposed modification to the planned road network. Delineation of natural heritage features, and the development of temporary and permanent servicing strategies. These issues and others that are raised during the review will be addressed in the future recommendation report. Next slide, please. The application was received on November 8th, 2024. The application was circulated to commenting departments and agencies. Staff will continue the review of the application, including reviewing comments from public and technical staff. We will advance a final recommendation report to Council for a decision. Issues raised will be addressed in the recommendation report. Staff will contact and follow up with those residents who have spoken, written in, or advised of an interest in monitoring this proposal. Next slide, please. The development application can be accessed by the public through Brampton Plan Online. Through Brampton Plan Online, members of the public can click search for an application link, then type file number OZS 2024-0063. This brings up the file page, where clicking the link, the File Info tab, will allow all drawings and documents associated with the development application to be viewed. Next slide, please. The report associated with tonight's meeting is available online. The presentation will be available online shortly. Once again, my name is Yin Xiao, and my contact information is posted on the screen, along with the contact information of the applicant, Oz Kamel from MHBC, who is representing the landowner. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself, my manager, or the applicant. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you again. We'll go to public delegations. The first public delegation will be residents Harpreet Singh Bale and Gurkaran Kaur Beal. Harpreet?
Hi, this is Harpreet. Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, you're good. You have 5 minutes, sir.
All right, thank you. So, sir, first of all, I would like to thank everyone to give me a chance to speak on this proposal. first of all, I would like to oppose this proposal. But I believe that this proposal brings a lot of inconvenience to the neighborhood. It's very close to the neighborhood we live in. It's very dense populated area. It's very close to our house where I live in. It's maybe less than 100 meters away from us. So what I feel that this neighborhood should remain away from the hustle bustle of industrial zoning. It should be kept specifically for residential area, and specifically residents only thrive when we get calm, family friendly atmosphere, and that's what I feel that this industrial amendment should be scrapped. Rather, it should be should be given the opportunity to maybe build it as shopping center, or maybe hospital, or maybe some university or something which actually brings some meaningful purpose to the residents living nearby. That's what I feel, and in my opinion, if we are building industrial complex here, it disrupt local ecosystem. It might contaminate surroundings. You never know. It could have long-term environment of degradation. It could bring security concerns as well. So you never know. So in my opinion, it should be kept as maybe like as I said, it should be built as shopping center. It would, in my opinion, if you build a shopping center, which is the dire need of this area, if you come to this area, you will see at least for few kilometers we do not have any single good shopping complex near to this community. We lack that very direly, and we need it, I would say. And in my opinion, you should please reconsider my appeal to rather not create a shopping complex, but create something which is more needed, which is, in my opinion, shopping center, hospital. We lack hospitals in Brampton. If you we just have one hospital, and it's always overcrowded. It takes hours for us to get in and get some. Even if you go to emergency in Brampton Hospital, Civic Hospital, I believe everyone knows the situation there. So think about doing something meaningful rather than bringing industrial complex near the residential areas. So please reconsider my application, and that's it from my end.
Thank you very much, Harpreet. I do want to let you know that this is a public meeting, so it's every landowner's right to be able to come before us to put forward what they would like to build on their land. We have no decision-making at today. This is strictly just for the public to hear what your concerns are. So no decisions. Staff will take a record of some of your concerns, and it'll be they'll be provided with the report back to council for council's deliberation and ratification. That being said, staff will also contact you to let you know when that report is made available publicly, and they'll also let you know when that report will be coming to council for council to vote on that. So I'd like to thank you for your delegation, and a quick reminder that Armajot Sandhu is your MPP for Brampton North, and he will handle your hospital concerns as that is provincial. Thank you very much. I would like to ask if there's any other residents that would like to come down and delegate on this item. Any other residents that would like to come and delegate on this item? You can come on up. We're going to have Chandra come over, and we're going to take your name and your address, but you can come up and you can come up as I'm saying, come up, come on up, come on up. The first one can you come on, no, you gotta come up here, face us, and then state your name for the record. And then we need you to write your name in a book that, Sean's just coming over to. Three separate delegations, or are you all one together?
I'm with him.
Okay.
He's our next door neighbor.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Sheila Smith. I live at 767 Mayfield Road, just behind that complex. What our concerns are with the road going through, with the water main going through in the front on Mayfield, and if they start construction on what they want to build there, our quality of life will be really disrupted. And we're really concerned about it, because we're the only two people on Mayfield Road left.
Yep, I know your houses very well, yes?
Yeah, you know we are.
Any other, now's your time
And
to
that's
voice your
my
concerns.
concern, so.
Okay.
My name is Ajit Singh Sahota. I'm next door, 781 Mayfield, to my neighbor. They are on the west, I'm on the east. And this development is going to affect us really badly. Our sewer system, septic, wells, everything is going to disrupt. So I have written already to the planning, a written note, and we object to this.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We're really concerned over it. What's going to happen up there on both sides of the Mayfield Road, Calvin side and Brampton side. And we don't know what's going to happen, really, and the widening of the road, whether we're going to be there or not. Hard to say.
Yep. Let me just, before, I'm going to ask that we contact the region to find out what the status of Mayfield Road is. I know I've been asking since 2015 what the status of Mayfield Road is, but I think it's time that we fully understand money was allocated in the budget back in 2015 for Mayfield Road widening west of here, Ontario. So, but that's a regional matter. That's why I'm kind of talking more about it, and not specifically to this application. But I'll ask staff to take all of your concerns and contact you regarding the staff report when it comes back.
City has already taken the land from us for
The right of way, the region took it, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if we can look after us that way, make sure we go out protected.
And your septic and sewer?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for your delegation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll ask again, is there anybody else that'd like to come down and delegate on this item? Seeing none. Oz, would you like to withdraw your delegation? Thank you very much. Councillor Brar will move report receiving 5.3 staff report, application to amend the zoning bylaw, MHBC Planning Limited, 11722 Mississauga Road, and the delegation 6.1, the added delegations, and the correspondence 11.3. All in favor? That carries. Our next item is delegation application to application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, Glen Schnarr and Associates, 2424203 Ontario Limited, 0 McLaughlin Road. We have Peya Mehta. Peya is here, or Peya is online? Peya, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Peya, you have 5 minutes.
So just wanted to, I have already spoken in November. Just want to reiterate that we are the most impacted house, with this new building, and we are just a small family of 3. We moved from Toronto to Brampton very recently and love the small community that we have. Now that there's big building that they are trying to build at 0 McLaughlin Road, both our entrance and our backyard will be exposed to this new construction. This will be very intimidating for all our community as well as our families for private events in the backyard or kids playing in the backyard, as all of our backyards will be facing this new construction. Invasion of privacy is another issue that we have. We already have two big plazas around our property. I'm sure you all know about it. There's a lot of traffic moving into our community area, and there's hardly space for any visitors or contractors coming in our parking street. A lot of noise issues is another concern that we already have. Just in November, before this, just a week before this same kind of committee meeting we had a loud, there was like a lot of loud music going on, and there's like a car show in the Leon's Plaza, and it was illegal. We tried calling 311, but they said that there was, it's not a reported event, so we cannot take any action on it. Our walls were literally shaking on a weekday night before the kids should be sleeping. Another issue that we also think that is going to impact our community is the increased risk of fire accidents and thefts. And the green area right across our front door is the only area that our kids in the community play and have. So we also wanted to find out what is the decision that is going to be made about that. My closing statements for this would be that we request to stick to the original commercial zoning that they had put across. We completely are in agreement of having a 3-story commercial building with a daycare, as there are very few daycares, and we are personally struggling with a lot of massive wait list in all the daycares around our house. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your delegation, Peo. I'm not going to bring that item forward yet for debate. I know Councillor Brar is going to be coming back shortly, so we're going to chat with that. So I'm going to leave it in where it is in the agenda, and hopefully you can just stick around, listen in, and then we'll have a chat about that item. The planning committee will. But thank you for your delegation. I'm happy to move receipt of Peo's delegation. All in favor? That carries. Item 6.3 is an application to amend the zoning bylaw, Gagnon Walker Domes, 1283, 1298, 1300, and 1306, Queen Street West, Ward 5. We have Mark Denardis, as Mark is not here. Mark is here, but Mark is not delegating on this item. Mark is here just in case of a delegation. So Mark, I'm not going to bring your item forward either. You're going to wait too. Item 6.4 is delegation application for a draft plan of subdivision and amend zoning bylaw, Greenvale Homes, KLM Planning Partners, Keith McKinnon. Keith McKinnon is online. Keith McKinnon is not online. Keith McKinnon from KLM Planning Partners. Not here. Okay. Now we're going to go to, I'm going to skip over 7.5 and we're going to go to Councillor Santos's hold of the staff report, application to amend the zoning bylaw, application to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw, Gagnon Walker Domes, 2811135 Ontario Inc., 2803832 Ontario Inc., 1283 1298 1300 and 1306 Queen Street West, Ward 5, to permit a 12-story residential building with 265 units serviced by a total of 302 vehicular parking spaces, 160 bicycle parking spaces on lands approximately 0.78 hectares in size. Councillor Santos.
Thanks so much for you, Mr. Chair. So I'm good with the recommendations in the report with the exception of number 5. In speaking with staff and getting clarification from the applicant, there's an amendment to recommendation number 5 as listed on the screen in regards to the west side of the property. And I think they're in the midst of drafting the letter to make that commitment accordingly. So that's just an amendment to recommendation 5.
Okay, and that recommendation, the amendment is that prior to forwarding the implementing zoning bylaw to council for enactment, a letter is to be received from the landowner confirming they are agreeable to making access arrangements in relation to the abutting lands to the west through a future site plan application, and that a conceptual design for this access arrangement be provided to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Planning, Building, and Growth Management. Everything else will be taken as read. Moved by Councillor Santos. Councillor Vincente. I knocked you off the board. Sorry. Gotcha.
I'm back. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just so committee is aware, the applicant has already submitted the letter that this motion makes point to, and so staff are in receipt of it as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Been moved by Councillor Santos. All in favor? That carries. I get a feeling, Mark, you're withdrawing your delegation. That's a good choice. Our next item is, I'm going to go back to, unfortunately, Councillor Brar is not back with us. The application amend the official plan zoning bylaw, Glenchnar Associates, 2424203 Ontario Limited, 0 McLaughlin Road, Ward 6. And if the committee is okay to move, the chair be heard. Thank you very much. This is a tough one. It's been around for a long time. If committee recalls, staff, there was previous application way back when, and it was held for a while, and then staff, when it did come back, staff were fantastic in bringing it back to committee so that residents could voice concerns. We certainly had more residents around the first time, and then this time we have PAO that has delegated, but we've had a number of emails, concerns, and really the concerns are around the proximity to the natural heritage system, backing onto a tributary, I think it's a trip. Conservation, it's on a tight spot. It's a difficult one because anywhere else in the city, not anywhere else, but almost anywhere else in the city, this would be a slam dunk, and we would ask for more floors. But this one's it's difficult just because of the McLaughlin Road network, the residents around it, and then PAO's concerns with the commercial block as well. I'd like to refer this to council, and I think that Councillor Brar or myself maybe need a little bit more dialogue with staff on this prior to it coming to council this week. Regardless, it'll have to be ratified this week, but I'm going to ask that we not vote on it today. So you're not going to know if we're supporting it yet until it comes to council this Wednesday. Councillor Brar and myself will have some chats with staff and the residents and see if we can get our heads around this application. So I'll move referral to council this week. All in favor? That carries. Next item is 7.9, updates to the Heritage Register and related matters as a result of implementation of Provincial Bills 23 and 200. Councillor Santos, you held this item. We have staff here that are ready to make a presentation.
Sounds good. I'm happy to have the presentation first.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Santos. We'll give us a couple minutes. There seems to be some clearing out, and then we'll get going. Good to
I
go.
don't take it personally. Through you, Mr. Chair, good evening, and thank you all. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present this update to you this evening regarding the recent changes to the Heritage Act. Excuse me. So tonight I'm going to discuss how recent, I'm sorry. Tonight I'm going to discuss how recent changes in provincial legislation will affect the city in terms of how we address heritage conservation going forward and seek a balance between that goal and the need to advance intensification and transformation. Well, thank you very kindly. Thank you very much. As I say, going forward to seek a balance between the goal of heritage conservation, preservation of municipal character, as well as advancing, the need to advance intensification and transformation across the broader downtown. This discussion will focus on what the legislation requires of us so that we can be in compliance with specific changes to the Heritage Act, and we all know that we want to be in compliance. We're not here to discuss specific properties or their designations in the context of this presentation. We are rather here to start a discussion that we hope will include robust public engagement and seek council direction on how to best address the requirements the province has placed before us. With that, I would like to proceed to the presentation, and I welcome the opportunity for questions, discussion at the end. So if we go to the next slide, please. So as I know, we're here to provide details on recent changes to the Heritage Act through Bills 23 and 200, and to seek council direction on matters related to these changes. And I would particularly note, and as this is mentioned here on this slide, we are particularly here to seek council vision for heritage conservation in this process, right? That this is critical to the success of what we're doing and how we do it as we address the new changes required by Bill 23. Next slide, please, sir. So this provides you some details, and this is also covered in the staff report that accompanies this. This provides some details of the recent changes to the Heritage Act. These are described more fully, as I say, in the staff report. Of note are the new limitations on designation, which can occur in relation to development applications, and the requirement to resolve the status of all the properties on our Heritage Register before January 1st, 2027. Specifically, I want to draw your attention to the requirement to issue a notice of intention to designate for those properties that the city chooses to move forward with designation and conservation. The Act requires us to issue that notice within a defined period of time after a complete application has been submitted, and that's for official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, and plans of subdivision. In other cases, that provision does not hold. As a result of Bill 23, designation is essentially the province is saying, you have a bunch of listed properties, it's time to make decisions, and they've given us a timeline to do it. And the critical piece here is that for properties on the Heritage Register that are currently listed, that issue must be dealt with by January 1st, 2027, or any property, or the property will automatically be removed from the Heritage Register. No consultation with the Heritage Board. It simply occurs automatically. No notice is required to the Heritage Trust. And it cannot be brought back for 5 years. The next slide, please. This is just to note that we currently have 375 listed properties on our Heritage Register. And just to quickly, for those who are not clear, designated property is one for which the city has passed a bylaw identifying its heritage attributes and its value, and it controls the demolition process. It essentially prevents demolition without repeal of the bylaw. It's an extra layer of protection. Listed properties are properties that the city has identified that have a particular heritage character to them that is interest, but have not gone through the formal designation process. The Heritage Act allows us to identify these properties, to bring them forward onto the Heritage Register, with the understanding that they will in time be reevaluated for heritage designation. What the province is saying now is that you must do all of this work by January 1st, 2027, or those identified properties are lost from the register, and as I say, cannot be brought back again. So this puts it on us to make some rather critical decisions. If I could have the next slide, please. So this slide really identifies some of the net benefits to the city both in the short and the long term regarding heritage conservation. Brampton is a distinct place with a distinct history and a character, and our existing heritage fabric emphasizes its distinctiveness. So, and I would note that in this, so here, we have preservation is it's good for identity. It builds wealth. That there are studies from various municipalities across Canada that demonstrate this. Heritage sites support and stimulate local economy through specialized jobs. Heritage preservation meets the official plan goals, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Local heritage preservation enhances community identity, connections, and so on. It helps build the city we live in. It's an important part of the fabric of the city. And I would just note briefly here that if you consider the evolution of Brampton as a place, up until sort of the 1960s, 1970s, it was evolving just like any sort of small town would or small growing town would in the province. With the decision to create Bramalea, a great decision, but with the decision to create Bramalea, the evolution of Brampton kind of changed. The normal progress of densification and intensity was sort of halted in the town because it was focused in Bramalea. That's where high-rise development went, the new high-density commercial development went, and that meant that the town, the former town, although it is the center seat of the municipality, the town remained in many ways kind of less changed over time. And so it took on this particular character, and it is, and I use the word carefully, it is unique in the context of Southern Ontario. Most cities, most downtowns in Southern Ontario look like this. Brampton looks like this. And so we have this distinctive neighborhoods with a late 19th and early 20th century character, mature tree cover, and so on and so forth within the town. It's a distinctive place. And so these things, in the right context, can lead to economic benefit, cultural benefit, social benefit, and so on. If we go to the next slide, please. Heritage is part of sustainability. And so, yes, if I could just, in the official, I want to just mention that in the context of the provincial planning statement, the new provincial planning statement, and in the official plan, the mandate for conservation is there. There is direction from the province to do this. It's a question of how you go about doing it. So the provincial policy statement notes that protected heritage properties, designated heritage properties, which may contain built heritage resources or cultural landscapes, shall be conserved. Municipalities are also encouraged to develop and implement proactive strategies for conserving significant built heritage resources and cultural heritage landscapes. That's the language of the provincial planning statement, and it's echoed in the official plan. On the sustainability matter, Brampton's downtown has this, as I note, an eclectic and distinctive character that mixes older neighborhoods with modern development. Maintaining heritage character during the intensification process helps preserve the town's identity, and that there's more to the value of old buildings than just the aesthetic of them. Right? Please note that item 7 on this list addresses attractiveness and value. And much discussion is had about the effect of heritage designation on property values. And all of the research, both in Ontario and elsewhere, in Canada, the United States, indicates that heritage designation enhances property values. Not does it only enhance the property values of the individual property values, but has a spin-off effect for the surrounding lands. One boat, one good boat, one good one helps float all boats kind of things. And in neighborhoods where there are collections of these buildings, it also enhances. It's also been shown to be a buttress against downturns in the economy, that heritage properties are resistant to devaluation during difficult economic times. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this brings us to where we are now, council vision. So this brings us to where we are now and where we need to go. So the province has laid out a requirement for us to address all these properties on our heritage register. At the same time as Brampton is experiencing, a very rapid intensification and growth, and we certainly want to see that intensification proceed. So it's about figuring out a path to balancing heritage conservation as mandated by the province, address our register issues, while still facilitating that intensification and development in our greater downtown. And in this regard, staff are coming to you today to seek council vision and direction on heritage conservation in this context. We are also going to talk about public engagement, because that is also a key anchor piece for all of this. But staff, in the current structure, staff are essentially responding on a property-by-property basis. And given the timelines we have, we think it's critical that there be council give us some direction on how they see this working so that we can best focus our activities, more efficiently focus our activities, and bring forward recommendations that are robust and supported by the community and that can work going forward. And again, the time limits that are imposed by the province mean that if we exceed the timeline, the city will be significantly limited in our ability to control this aspect of our ongoing development as a city. Next slide, please. So staff have been working to address some of the requirements of Bill 23. Prior to the actual Bill 23 coming down, staff had actually started a review of the Heritage Register. It needed to be updated and brought sort of the last update was done in 2006. It was time for an update. And we had started that work. Bill 23, however, changed the conversation. We have met with other city departments, building, development planning, urban design, legal, and talked through how the implications of Bill 23. We've clarified and updated a bunch of our process stuff so that we're reviewing things in a timely manner. And we've created mapping showing the distribution of resources across downtown in relation to upcoming and current and upcoming development proposals. If I could get the next slide, please, and we're almost done. So this slide essentially identifies the contents of the recommendations in the staff report that's before you this evening. Staff are seeking to go forward with public engagement regarding heritage and development. We need to get out in the public, hear what they have to say, bring that feedback in and feed it into the system, into our approach. We are recommending a program of heritage designation. The reality is that if we do not identify some of these buildings and bring them forward for designation, we risk losing all of them. And we think there's some merit in considering their need to a program for designation, however it may look. And we have some recommendations for properties that would be likely candidates, but we need to go out and meet with the public, and there will be every opportunity for the owners of those properties that we're recommending to be engaged, that we will not proceed without engaging them. We've recommended, and this has actually been through council, an increase to the value of the Paul Willoughby Heritage Incentive Grant. It costs money to upkeep a heritage building as an incentive to the public to participate in the program. If we increase the value of the grant, it acts as a plus for those who are taking on these properties. We also want to investigate the implementation of the Heritage Incentive Tax Rebate. This is available through the Municipal Act and is a cost sharing between the province and the city. We feel this would be a positive incentive for property owners to consider designation. And again, the city acknowledges their contribution, and the completion of the Cultural Heritage Management Plan, which has been on the books for a while and needs to be completed. And now they're wrapping up the Heritage Register update and the Archaeological Management Plan. We can complete the Cultural Heritage Management Plan. So, thank you very much, and I'm happy to engage in some questions.
Thank you very much. I'll go Councillor Santos, as she is the holder of this item. Councillor Santos.
Thanks so much to you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Carlton, for the presentation and a little bit of the clarification as well. So the appendix, which is the list of recommended properties, as well as the map, we're not approving those tonight to be designated heritage yet, is my understanding. We have to still go out to the public, get the feedback, because there's a lot of there's 3 pieces of correspondence on that list in particular.
That's correct. Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct, Councillor. This is only a preliminary list of properties for consideration, and it will only be carried forward after the public engagement pieces happen. And the specific pieces related to the correspondence, those will be addressed going forward.
Okay, so we're not approving that list tonight?
Correct.
Okay, great. Those were all my questions for clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Santos. Councillor Vicente.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and just want to make committee aware that one of the properties listed on here, 40 Mill, both myself and Councillor Santos did receive correspondence from the property owner who I believe has submitted or has done some pre-consultation work with the city. That being the case, just as, in the interest of saving staff time, if we could remove 40 Mill Street North from the list, please.
So, that's not really why
Yeah.
We can't do that now at this time?
I don't think it's appropriate to do that at this time. This time, right now, is for information coming to us, and then we're going to public consultation. So I think it's really important for committee members to know is the province is taking this away from us. We're no longer going to be able to essentially make these types of decisions. The residents are also no longer going to be able to talk to you about having their property designated or not designated. Okay, so there's going to be opportunity for them down the road at a certain process, but as of right now, this is before us to go out to that public consultation.
If I could, through you, Mr. Chair,
Please.
if I could. And yes, and that particular application, as well as other applications that are referenced in the correspondence, will also be dealt with through the development application process. That will continue on the larger issue of what are we going to do about the whole thing that we're here to discuss. Yes.
But I think the most important thing now is, we hear from the residents, and then when it comes back, what is your vision? What do you want Heritage to look like based off of the residents' feedback? What do you want Heritage to look like going forward? Right, I've always been very, vocal about how many Victorian-style houses do we need in the city of Brampton, right? But there's a place and time for sure for Victorian-style houses and other types of houses that certainly capture the heritage of the city of Brampton. Sorry, Councilor Vincente.
Yeah,
you
no
have the floor.
problem. Thank you. Through you, Chair. So to staff, just for clarification, then going forward, there wouldn't be a scenario where if a resident is opposed to having that designation happen, they cannot come to council or ask their elected representative to not have a property designated? Is that what I heard?
The Act provides that once the city makes a determination that it wishes to proceed with a designation, and we're only talking about designations now, once the city decides it wants to proceed with the designation, it issues the notice of its intention to do so. At that point, the landowner has the opportunity to come forward and object. And they can bring that objection to council. Council can act on the merits of that objection. And we've got some direction from legal about what qualifies as a valid objection to the notice. And then if they're still not satisfied and the city wishes to proceed, if the city does not uphold the objection and wishes to proceed, they also have the opportunity to go to the Ontario Land Tribunal. That will not change as a result of the expiration date in 2 years from now, right? That process will carry on. So there will still be opportunity. There is now, and there always will be an opportunity for people to object if they want to do so. So yes, so that process will continue on. That's not going to change.
So again, for clarification through you, Chair, then when an item, a file, comes before council, council has ultimate discretion.
Yes. The Act, this is where we went through you, Mr. Chair, this is where we went to the legal department, because we need to understand that if someone is objecting, the reasons for objection must be clear and must relate to the nature of what's the recommendation for designation. That, for lack of a more sophisticated way of putting it in the moment, we don't like it is not necessarily a valid objection, right? That there has to be a reason, and it should be housed in the reasons for the designation. And this has come up in Brampton before, and the city has upheld this position previously. I do also want to note that there's the property owner can come to the city with their objection, and there has been, I think, some confusion in the past about this one particular technical nicety, which is to say that council cannot necessarily require staff to get property owner approval to proceed, but council can hear the objection and decide on the merits of the objection as they choose, if that makes sense.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Specifically, though, there was something that you had mentioned about the province handcuffing our ability to, what? I told you not to use the word. I'm allowed to use the word. In our meeting, I said, don't use the word handcuffed. I can use it.
Okay.
Please elaborate on that for me.
Well, essentially that if we want to look at this suite of 375 properties that are currently on the Heritage Register, the province has said you must address whether or not you're going to designate some, most, all, a handful of these properties. And if you don't make that decision by January 1st, 2027, we're taking them all off the register, and you no longer have any discretion to do anything, to do that with them, and you cannot have it for 5 years. You can't even look at the property again for 5 years.
Right.
So they have taken that, they essentially have removed our ability to control our own destiny, if you will, through that process.
Okay. And what I really like about the bill is the incentives. The incentives now for, as a owner of a heritage property, I think they're massive. Never before. And that's what I found to be the biggest complaint from a resident that owned a heritage property was it was too expensive to do anything with. Well, now I think you're going to force people to want to have their homes designated. I think that's what this is going to do.
That's the goal.
So, did you mention percentages?
Under the act, we're allowed to, we have a rebate of between 10 and 40%, and we've been doing benchmarking like in other municipalities, and that will be part of the discussion if we're going to explore this. Yes, so it's between 10 and 40% of the portion of the tax bill that relates to the heritage contributing portion of the property. It's a bit of a...
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none? I can't wait to hear what residents say and for you to come back and maybe future workshop for the vision. I'm not sure, but at least something. Let's chat before then to see how this is going to, because you really want council's engagement to specify what the vision is for the city moving forward. So moved by Councillor Vincente that the 7.9 staff report update to the Heritage Register and related matters as a result of the implementation of provincial bills 23 and 200 and staff presentation 7.8. All in favor? Carries. Our next item was, Brampton Heritage Board minutes. Item 8.1, Councillor Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, with conversations with staff, I understand that the owner of 76 Main Street South is reconsidering the development proposal. So I wanted to direct staff not to initiate the heritage designation for this particular address at this time and work with the owner on an alternative approach to a designation. And maybe the commissioner could perhaps speak to this.
Through the chair, through to you, Councillor Keenan. Perhaps I'll start by, for those in the audience and those listening online, the subject property, 76A Main Street South, is not one of the properties that were on the list as the previous matter that Charlton spoke to, so I think that's important to differentiate. Secondly, this matter was brought before the Brampton Heritage Committee on November 19th, and since then, the owner of the property has reached out to myself and has recontemplated the development aspirations of the site and is of the opinion that if staff were to move forward with the process for designation, it would encumber the full development potential of the land. The applicant has, in writing, offered to work with staff through some sort of heritage commemoration and preservation. So we would need, because these are Brampton Heritage Board Committee minutes before you tonight, we would need some direction to not proceed with, I guess, the recommendation 4 from that Heritage Board, that staff move forward with the heritage designation, and perhaps that's a new recommendation that staff work with the applicant to develop heritage preservation, an alternative heritage preservation form through the ultimate development of the lands. I presume through the clerk that new recommendation then would be brought forth to Wednesday's council and then ratified for staff direction.
That the report from Prita Jamburkar, Heritage Planner, to the Brampton Heritage Board meeting of November 19, 2024, Heritage Impact Assessment 76 Main Street South, Ward 3, that the Heritage Impact Assessment report for 76 Main Street South prepared by GBCA Architects dated July 13, 2023 be deemed complete, that the following recommendation as per the Heritage Impact Assessment by GBCA Architect be followed. That the proposed new residence on the newly created severed property of 76 Main Street South, as shown in the attached design drawings in the HIA, generally respects the intent of the policies, guidelines described in the draft Main Street South Heritage Conservation District Plan 2018, that the property at 76A Main Street South meets the criteria for designation under the Section 29, Part 4 of the Planning Act, Ontario Heritage Act, and that property is worthy of for designation. And that the staff recommend, so that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do.
So like the commissioner had stated, Mr. Chair, number 4 would be removed or taken out, and the new recommendation, the amendment would be to work with staff to, Commissioner, how did you state it?
So I personally would not put any of this forward and only have that you work with the applicant to see how, do you have any, work with the applicant to have the home removed from the designation list?
I don't know what the best terminology is for, oh, sorry, that's my door.
You want me to get it? Please, Councilor Vincente.
Okay, so, thank you. Councilor Keenan, you're asking that staff not proceed with the heritage designation at this time, right?
Correct.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Right. So,
And then work with them to preserve it in another way.
I think that's pretty clear direction.
Okay, so don't put any of that forward, because there's an application coming forward, right? That you've received in writing.
Through the chair, we already have, staff already have a active development application on the site.
But, and they're trying to ignite that.
Recontemplate that
Okay.
application.
So based off of the work that staff's going to be doing with the applicant, if this can be preserved in another direction, a glass
In an
bubble.
alternative manner, yes.
Perfect.
And if I still have the floor, Mr. Chair?
100% you do.
I think that this is the kind of choosing and decision that we are able to make on a routine basis, which was the point that I was trying to make on the earlier item. Thank you.
Excellent. Staff be directed to work with the applicant to halt the designation process, preserve the property in another manner. Yes. Yes. Does it satisfy you?
I'm good. It's good with the commissioner and meets what my targets are.
Through the chair, that meets the intended outcome, I believe, Council.
Excellent. Moved by Councilor
Thank you.
Keenan. All in favor? That carries. I'm going to grab all of the correspondence just in case that we may have missed some with the accompanying documents. So 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4, and 11.5 be moved by Councilor Brar. All in favor? That carries. Councilor question periods. Any members have any questions? Seeing none. Public question period. Any members of the audience or the millions watching online have any questions related to anything on the agenda here tonight? Seeing and hearing none. There's no closed session. Adjournment. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be Monday, January 13th.
7/12.
2020. Somebody online?
No, just for clarification on item 712. It was referred to council, I believe.
Yes.
So it sounded like it got listed with the consent motion, but it was actually separate from the consent motion. It wasn't in there as it was. It was referred
Yeah.
to council.
Really no decision can be made.
So there's no decision on it.
Council has to overturn, right? And then, but the staff recommendation report is what Councilor Power is putting on the agenda for council.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that, okay.
So it's
We're all clear.
it's
Thank you,
staff's
Chair.
recommendation report that he's looking for us to support. Excellent. The next regular scheduled meeting is January 13th, 2025, not 2024, at 7 p.m. Been moved by Councilor Power. All in favor? Have a wonderful night, everybody.